All right, everybody, I'm Lieutenant Jason Fair, Public Information Officer, Albuquerque Fire Rescue. Thank you all for coming. This is a big day for us. It's been a long time coming, so we're excited that everybody's here and speak a little bit about this project and what's gone into getting us here. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mayor Tim Keller, and we'll kick this off.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and good morning. Good to see folks. And so a couple of things we want to share as we're out here today. First and foremost, just to kind of put people we're out on the west side of Albuquerque. A lot of people don't know about these facilities because they're mostly for emergencies and for training for first responders. But we also have an animal shelter. So if you're wondering who let the dogs out, animal welfare is up there. That's what you hear. And of course, we have our emergency operations center directly behind me. Now, we're going to hear from some leaders from our Albuquerque Fire Rescue. Of course, we're excited to have the governor here as well. We also have two city councilors here who joined us, Councilors Brooke Bassan and Renee Grout. Thank you for coming. And we have representatives from IFF, one of our wonderful locals representing all our rank and file firefighters. Now, to begin with is an overview of this particular facility behind me. This is what we're celebrating. And so this is our new burn room. This is a literally regionally sort of first in class, best of class facility. There are very few departments around the country that have one of these. So we're grateful to have it. And the reason why we have it is in large part because of funding from our legislature, from the governor, from city council. This has been a long time coming, but it's been something we've been able to deliver on. And I want to speak a little bit about how important it is to our firefighters and most importantly, our cadets. Now, I also want to highlight behind you is the affectionately called the smoke room. I think I got that right. A smokehouse, one of the two. Not for barbecue, but they're training on low visibility and so forth in that container situation behind you. Also new, but not nearly as impressive and fancy as this one. So what is behind us is essentially a house that we light on fire over and over and over again to train our first responders how to deal with a fire in a structure. Now, that might sound relatively simple, but I want to remind folks, right, everything that we are as people tells us to run away from a house that is in fire, right? And our firefighters, our first responders, are trained to run in. And so, one, they have to psychologically be prepared for what that means. Low visibility, heat, unknown passages in terms of how to navigate the house. They also have to understand psychologically what that means. And I remember, the governor and I were in Firefighter Ops 101. We were together, actually, and Chief was spotting me at the time, and we were in the old burn room, and I remember I had like a little pinhole in my glove, and I was too embarrassed to say anything for a while. It was absolutely burning my hand and hurting really bad. It was like a laser beam hitting you. And so eventually, luckily, Chief at the time, she was like, just put your hand over it. How about that? Because you have another glove. So problem solved. But the point is, obviously, it's extremely dangerous when you're in a burning house. And so all our firefighters have to get used to that mentally, but also physically, and know what to do in those situations. And the only way to really train them is with a burn house like we have behind us. So our 100th cadet class is the first class to use this building. We're with the 101st cadet class, which is training today and using this building later this afternoon. As a reminder, AFR responds to over 100,000 calls. They're one of the busiest departments in the country, and we're very proud of what they do. And this facility was made possible. It cost just under $1 million, and the lion's share of that funding came from our governor, Representative Melanie Stansbury, Senator Michael Padilla, Representative Caballero, and also Representative Sirignana. So I want to thank them so much for this. And so with that, I'm going to come back up for some intros, but with more details on this, let's bring up our fire chief, Chief Armijo. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Training is an integral part of Albuquerque Fire Rescue. As you can see, we have a lot of training going on today. We have our cadet class, our 101st cadet class. We have our suppression refresher going on, which is continuing education. Projects like this really help us have that reality-based training that's necessary for the high-risk, low-frequency events that we mitigate as an all-hazards response service. Safely training in a live fire scenario is something that AFR has never been able to provide once our firefighters graduate the cadet program. So a lot of our training was just done in the classroom, it was simulated, but never in a burn structure such as we have behind us. Funding for projects like this can be a challenge for our department. We have to put a lot of our direct funding sources into apparatus, fire stations, things like that. Something like this was really just a dream that we had. In my previous role, I managed our grants and I wrote our grants, and a lot of the public safety dollars that are available federally are for law enforcement. So as a fire department, it was really hard for us to find funding for something, a project like this. We would have to focus it more towards our stations, our apparatus, things like that. So a project like this burn building is something that would have been put on the back burner without the support we received from everybody that's here with us today. This burn building will integrate into the development of AFR's Quality Assurance and Improvement Program, giving firefighters for years to come the opportunity to train in an environment that can mimic the real-world scenarios that we're facing on our 911 calls. This is critical to respond to our current needs in our community while keeping our firefighters safe and proficient in their skills. So thank you very much to the Division of BC Lopez and our firefighters that attended the FTTN training, where we kind of came up with this idea, or they did, back in 2019. The supporting efforts from the leadership of the IFF Local 244, as well as the support from Mayor Keller, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Congresswoman Stansberry, Senator Padilla, Representative Roybal Caballero, Representative Sariñana, and City Council were able to stand here today to dedicate this burn building. So on behalf of Albuquerque Fire Rescue, we thank everybody here today that made this building a reality. And next, I'm honored to introduce Battalion Chief Joe Lopez, who really brought this idea back to us, and really without his foresight, we would not be here today either.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Joe Lopez, and I'm a battalion chief with Albuquerque Fire Rescue. I respond out of Fire Station 5 in Southeast Albuquerque. First off, I'd like to say thank you to Fire Chief Jaramillo, Fire Administration, both past and present, Mayor Keller and city leaders, Governor Lujan Grisham, and state leaders that have supported AFR over the years. Also, thank you to the citizens of Albuquerque who have continually supported AFR. Lastly, thank you to the firefighters that put everything they have into this job. In 2019, myself along with several other firefighters were sent to the Fire Department Training Network in Indianapolis. This training facility is touted as the most demanding and realistic fire training available. At FDTN, my fireground skills were challenged to the extreme. It was an amazing opportunity for me as an individual firefighter to evaluate my strengths, my weaknesses, and where I needed to grow to be a better and more well-rounded firefighter. The fire service has a way of humbling firefighters. Just when we believe that we are figuring out the job, we are humbled by an experience that challenges us at the highest level, and we must adapt to those circumstances. I believe this happens so that as firefighters we can never become satisfied with our performance on emergency scenes. We have to continue to grow, we can never stop training, and we can never stop critiquing and looking for ways to get better. In this job, the stakes are so high that we cannot allow ourselves to be content with our skills. We must always be pushing to be more efficient and more effective. Seconds truly matter. The bar has to be continually raised. I tell you this because I want you all, the citizens of Albuquerque, to know that we will continue to challenge ourselves as individuals, as companies, battalions, and as Albuquerque Fire Rescue to answer the call with our greatest effort in your time of need. In order for us to answer this call, we must challenge ourselves in our training, continually putting ourselves in difficult training scenarios so that we will rise to the occasion when the citizens call upon us. What you see behind me is a building that was designed and planned over 3 years. Every thought that went into the design of this building had two things in mind. How can we challenge our firefighters in the most realistic way possible? How can we simulate the situations that our citizens may find themselves in? In this building, we have the ability to do live burns along with smoke barrels to create realistic interior fire conditions, creating as realistic conditions that we might see as we respond every day. This allows us to train on our search and rescue techniques, our hose advancement skills, our forcible entry techniques, and ventilation tactics. At the end of the day, we want to put our firefighters in the best possible situation with the most realistic training and the tools necessary so they may answer the call to save a life. This building was designed to be versatile to meet the needs of our department and our city. We can simulate what we call a 2/2 fourplex, a single-story residential, a two-story residential, and a single story with a basement. This versatility will allow us to continually adapt and modify our training to meet the needs of the city's most precious resource, our citizens. Multiple entry points located on the structure allow us to use this versatility to mimic the different home layouts that are present throughout different parts of the city. Over the course of the 3 years, so many firefighters provided us with valuable input. This input was crucial and allowed us to take a well-thought-out approach to its design. Our new training structures will be able to train several generations of firefighters long after I am gone. They are an investment in our firefighters and ultimately an investment in the safety of our community. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to my continued service.
You don't even need it. Look, that's so short.
That's true. I don't even think it's on, by the way. Is it on? All right. Anyway, so listen, we are honored to be joined by the great governor of the state of New Mexico. And so I just want to briefly introduce her by saying that time and time again now, I think for 6 years, more or less, we've been working together. And whenever Albuquerque is in desperate need, whenever our fire or our police and our first responders need help, we get together each year, and our governor pretty much, not all the time, pretty much just says yes. How can I help? And this is such a good example of how fire articulated this need. We said there wasn't enough funding. We asked the governor, and she's like, I will make this happen. And with support from legislators, we are so grateful to have a governor who not only cares, but invests and walks the walk when it comes to standing up for police and fire. Welcome, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, since he went to all the trouble, now I'm a little too close, but am I almost as tall as Mayor Keller? Whoever's saying yes, good answer. There was only one answer. That wasn't intended to give you choices. Look, you've heard everything about making sure that this is a state and a city that's going to invest in our first responders. If you don't have the right equipment, then we're putting our men and women in harm's way when they're out actually responding to these emergencies, including these fires. And then it's not fair to the individuals with whom they are responsible for protecting. So it's easy to be here today because it allows us, frankly, to give more reminders to more policymakers and to give thanks. So that's the number one thing. Look, we've put more money into public safety than the last couple of governors combined. We're nearing, $450 million and change in the kind of equipment and training for all first responders statewide. And while this is critical, I really appreciated Chief Jaramillo pointing out, look, we have stations and ladder trucks and any number of equipment investments all over the state. Because once you're fully trained here, wherever you're assigned or wherever you take your first job, we want to make sure that you have state-of-the-art equipment and strategies to support your community statewide. So thank you for your advocacy, and you can bet that the state's going to continue to lean in. 2, there's a lot more going on in terms of supporting our firefighters and their families. And it's a great place to recognize that we've got more to do, I think. I'm going to shout out to the Vice President and the Association of Firefighters right here. But we have one of the best set of protections and benefit packages for families and for presumptive eligibility for benefits like workers' comp that you might not know about an infectious disease or related stresses that cause real injury and harm, and in some cases death to the men and women who are protecting us every day. So it means something to me to come back here and say thank you. That's the kind of leadership that we expect, and you should expect that the state will lean in. And then 3rd, we need to do as much of the infrastructure investment as we can. We need to set the groundwork. That was really well said long before I got to the podium. That we want to create an environment where we know that we can successfully train and support the next 20 generations of firefighters. Now, that's not to suggest that this is stagnant, it's a one-off and we're done. It's a suggestion to say that where you see these training facilities and environments, you should expect to see the next generation, including, I'm going to challenge the press to get video of the intense heat and risk associated with going through the training. And with all of the information technology applications that also assist us in state-of-the-art training, make no mistake, Albuquerque Fire Rescue County, the rest of the state, engages in that state-of-the-art training. Those are three environments that New Mexicans should be proud of. I certainly am, but it requires a partnership. That's the three things about fire. I wanted to actually thank the mayor for leaning in. We really do work together. It's been 4.5 years, don't give me more, since I've been governor. But we've worked together when he was in the legislature and a state auditor. And I know that he understands unequivocally that every single day there are more challenges that are going to have to create collective work. And while that's not the focus of today's press conference, I know how much you respect the state and the city. And I know how much you care about where people live and about how we show, I almost fell off my stool, and how much we show respect to the men and women who are driving to this facility. We're about to launch a Clean Up New Mexico campaign, which I think is long overdue. Rebranding, refreshing, and bringing together partners. Now, before that effort, so maybe there's an invitation in the mix for another press conference, we've talked to the mayor and other local leaders about how we do that. This drive here is where we should start the second we leave here. We should get it cleaned up, we should fix the potholes, and we should create an environment for the neighbors who live here that is really clear about our intention to showcase New Mexico is beautiful, and we should keep it that way. And each of us has a responsibility to do that. So I'm challenging the city and the county, and today I'm challenging the whole state. Let's get ready to embrace that campaign. We can do better than what I saw today. Thank you very much for having me. Congratulations to all of the first responders and firefighters. And let me once again thank the mayor, who never doesn't accept a challenge and has supported us for every difficult aspect of leading and keeping a city safe. And I'm grateful to you. Thank you all so very much. Take my own box.
Yeah, so we're going to do, thank you so much, Governor. Let's give our governor one more round of applause. We're going to do Q&A one-on-one. AFR will organize that. Otherwise, we really want to give folks a tour of the burn room, so that's what's up next. Thanks so much.